So my approach to the word green, I guess the first thing I would say is taking decisions that would have a lower impact on the earth. Obviously, we live on this earth, we consume resources, we consume energy, so we can't have no impact unless you lived in a cave somewhere, but that's not realistic for most of us. So I would say that having the least amount of impact as possible, making decisions to do that. So one of the key things is that, we purchased this home in the downtown area so that we can walk or bike to work or to go out to shop, that kind of thing. So that helps to reduce our impact by not having to drive as much, for example.
Well, there's a lot of different aspects that what makes this home green. Is it the greenest it could have been? Possibly not, but I think we brought it to a pretty high standard for a 1920 built home. So we tried to make it as efficient as we could for the budget that we had. So basically, if you're starting on the outside envelope, like you saw earlier, we did salvage the brick, and then behind that brick, the reason we took the brick off and salvage it is that we wanted to eliminate a thermal bridging. So that's basically it was just it's a 2x4 construction. In 1920s, that was typical to build a house with 2x4 construction. So basically, that cavity only allows you to have a R14 or a 12 max. So basically, for every stud, you have a thermal bridging there. So we added 1.5 inch styrofoam, and we did some structural fix to accommodate the second story we were putting on, i.e. lentils on top of windows and stuff like that. And so we added the 1.5 inch styrofoam. So then we put back the brick on top of it. So that's vapor barrier and air barrier and stuff like that. So that's basically what we did on the ground floor. Going up to the second floor, we went to conventional 2x6 construction. We wanted to simplify it and stuff, so we kept it to 2x6 construction with a R24 batt insulation into the cavities, but we added a 1 inch styrofoam on the outside again to prevent thermal bridging. So that brought up our value to basically like a R29, which is above code, or as good as code as a 2012. And then if we keep moving up, what we've done also in the attic, I think code is around R40 for insulation, attic insulation, but we went above that. We thought for the minimal increasement in cost for blown insulation, we basically brought it up to R65. So we almost have 2 feet of blown-in insulation in the attic space. So again, to increase our demand on heat or coolness. We don't have an AC unit, so that's why we did decide to increase our insulation, especially in the ceiling too, for hot summer days and for the cool winter nights. So that's what we've decided to do.
And just to build on some of the benefits of doing the exterior insulation and adding on the air barrier is that we were able to make the house much more airtight. In fact, we are more airtight than what is required in an Energy Star home.
Wow.
So not only is that great for our energy bills, but it actually really makes the house so much more comfortable. So you can actually touch the walls in the winter and they don't feel cold. And that is really not like a lot of the other houses in the neighborhood of this vintage. A lot of these houses don't even have any insulation in the walls whatsoever. So our house is more comfortable, and of course we use a lot less energy.
Yeah, and by adding all these layers of insulation and vapor barrier and air barrier, you're creating a different problem too. At the same time, you're creating your air sealing your house, so caulking all around the windows and making sure everything is vapor barriered and air barriered and everything like that. The problem that you create by then is like your house is sealed and it's way too sealed to leave it as is. So by doing that, we wanted to seal it tight, and like they say in the industry, seal it tight, ventilate right. So by ventilating right, we've added an HRV system. So summer months is not as important because like I said earlier, we don't have any, we're not air conditioning this house, so the windows are fairly quite open at night to cool it off. But winter time, that's when we're all sealed up, and that's when we need some fresh air coming into the house. So we added an HRV. So that HRV does provide us with fresh air and eliminates the stale air. So we decided to go again with the HRV and then a DC motor because it operates 24/7 in the wintertime, and it could be a bit of a burden on electricity consumption. So we did decide to get a model with an ECM motor, so it takes 90% less electricity to run the fan motors. Yeah, and then again we did decide to go with triple pane windows throughout the house. We decided to go as much as we could with casement, being better air sealed. Hung windows tend to leak over the years, so we try to keep those at a minimum. So we decided to go mostly with casement or awning windows, so we can keep them, if it rains, we can keep them open. And we went with the triple pane because of first of all for the energy that it saves, and it's a lot quieter. Being in a downtown core, sometimes it's a bit louder on the streets, so having the triple pane really helps a lot to keep the noise down inside the house, and it's more comfortable.
Yeah, and just to build on that too, so they're triple pane, they're low E argon, and they're low E coating. Okay. So they're actually Energy Star qualified windows, and for those who know about the Energy Star windows, we are in a Zone B area in the Ottawa area, but all of our windows are rated for Zone C. So they're actually rated for much colder areas.
Another great aspect about, I think we done with this reno, we try to do the best we could about salvaging material. Obviously, we talked about the brick and most of all the trim that was in the house, we salvaged, and we stripped the paint off of them, sanded and refinished it with water-based finish, and we reinstalled it. So that was the trim, and then we did the flooring. We kept the flooring. Like I said earlier, I think we've salvaged some of the wood from under the cabinetry, and fill in the gaps that we're missing by removing the walls that we've done at the ground floor, and just try to keep it as existing.
Yeah, using as much of the materials that were there as possible. We also had a lot of doors on the first floor. We had at least 7 doors for all the separate rooms that we had. So we saved all the doors, and we are now reusing them on the second floor for all the bedrooms and the bathroom and the closets and that kind of thing.
Being high quality doors are solid Douglas fir doors, so why not, right? So it's a better quality doors than you mostly find in the box stores. We purchased this home in 2004, and the biggest requirement for us to purchase the home was to have a south-facing roof. And we really liked the neighborhood. It was up and coming, and then we really liked the location for close to amenities and all the work and shops and stuff. But it was basically the roof that kind of sold us. It sounds a bit strange, but that's what sold us, because we really wanted to do a solar system, PV photovoltaics, and also solar hot water collector. That was our main focus that we needed. If we buy a house, we wanted to retrofit to put those technologies on the house. And so it did allow us, self-facing roof did allow us to do a PV photovoltaic system and also a solar hot water collector system, which works really well. The solar provides green energy, and the solar hot water collector, well, there's not enough that can be said about that. It's great. We in the summer months we're basically 100% solar hot water for domestic use, showers and dishes and stuff like that. And in the shoulder months and winter months, it does really helps. I don't know, whatever. It
helps to preheat the water.
Yeah.
And that's really important actually, because we have a tankless hot water heater, and the one drawback to the tankless is that it takes sometimes a long time for you to get your hot water, because when you actually ask for water, the cold water has to go through for a certain amount of time for the tankless sort of just to kind of wake up and start heating the water. So you get this lag time and sort of cold water coming through the tap, and you end up wasting a fair amount of water, which is kind of a shame. So having the solar hot water is basically we have a tank of preheated warm water or hot water depending on the time of year. And what that allows us to do is when we turn on the tap and ask for hot water, we're going to get a little bit of that warm water coming through it first. So sometimes that's just enough to wash your hands or whatever it is that you want to do. And at the very least, it doesn't take that much longer than to get the really hot water. So it's a great way to sort of have more comfortable water, but also to save energy in terms of the amount that we have to heat it up. And for the solar photovoltaic system, we put in about 2.35 kilowatts. We really wanted to do more, but to be honest, we didn't have that much roof space to do it. So it's not enough to match the amount of electricity that we use in the house, but because of the price that we get paid through the microfit program, it actually pays for all of our utility bills and then some.
Lighting is not the most important aspect of the house in the sense of energy consumption. It is, it is only almost about 4 or 5% of your energy consumption is lighting, but still I find it's very important to, again, to address any energy efficiency as best as you can. The lighting we've chosen in this house is a mix of different kinds. We have some compact fluorescents, we have LEDs, and we have halogens. Halogens being a nicer light, more comfortable light, but being the least efficient one of all threes. So we use the compact fluorescent and the LED for task lighting, which the ones that are on all the time, countertop, under cabinetry lighting, porch lighting, hallway lighting. But for the comfortable of the living room, hanging out in front of the fireplace, we've chosen to go with halogen. It's a much softer light, but they're all on dimmers, so they all can be dimmed. So they're very rarely used at full capacity. So that on its own, it makes it a little bit more efficient in its own. In some ways, the renovation is pretty challenging. It's very challenging, but I think the reward is worth it. I find it's just. I guess it would be easier just to go out and purchase a new home and make it the same. I guess the same technology. Use the same technology that we used and same insulation, and it'd probably be a lot less frustrating and challenging and easier. But at the same time, we wanted to keep the era of the house. It was built in the 1920s. We didn't want to change the look too much of it, and just to fit into the neighborhood.
Yeah, well, as Yves mentioned, in 2004 we purchased the house, and one of the big determinants for us was which way the roof faced, because we wanted sometime in the future to do the solar systems. And so we really kind of lucked out in some ways, because we were able to do that at a time where the incentives were really high. Yeah. So we got, for the solar hot water, we were able to capture 3 different incentives. So a local one, a provincial, and then the federal eco-energy retrofit. And then for the solar PV system, we were, of course, able to get into the microfit program at the higher 80 cents per kilowatt hour. So we lucked out, because it's something that we were planning to do and we would have done anyways, but we just happened to be, the timing was just right. And for the rest of the renovation in the house, I would say the same thing. We would have insulated the house, we would have upgraded the windows, we would have upgraded the fireplace even, but we were able to do that all at the time where the eco-energy retrofit grants were available, so we were able to save some money by getting incentives from the federal and provincial governments. But that said, we lucked out and the grants are no longer available, but I would still encourage anyone thinking about doing these kind of things to still look at the efficiency upgrades more than anything else. This is what stays with the house the longest. It stays a lot longer than finishes or a fancy, new kitchen or a bathroom. It's the stuff in the walls, the stuff you don't see, that really counts the most in the long run. So if I was talking to someone else about, what should they consider if they're looking at doing a similar kind of retrofit, the first thing I would say is get an energy evaluation done. This is done through the federal government, through Natural Resources Canada, or NRCan. Someone comes to your house, they do a blower door test, and they go around and they evaluate your house, and you can get an energy rating for your house. You get a report afterwards, and it's a really great way of knowing where your house currently is at, and the report will actually identify the different measures that you can take to upgrade the efficiency of your house. After that, I would say is you just need to do your research, read a lot. There's a lot of information online about where to find more information about insulation or upgrading your mechanical systems. Certainly there's a lot on the Office of Energy Efficiency at NRCan. There's also an organization in town called Tucker House. They're a not-for-profit environmental organization, and they actually give workshops and seminars on exactly these kind of things. So telling people about how to increase energy efficiency of their home, or how to use solar, hot water, and that kind of thing.
And after you went through all that and like assessed where you want to make your changes, or where do you want to invest your money, and where you should set out yourself your priority list. So basically, what's important to you? You know, is it comfort? Is it you know, more lighting? Is it you know, whatever the case is, like photovoltaics is important, so hot water is important to you. Whatever, you establish your priority list. So that would be typically your wish list, and then you just go from there. You know, you have your wish list, and that might not be all realistic to your budget. Then you have to determine what is the scope of the job that, you know, will make the project, right? And then you try to surround yourself with good guys, with good, you know, builders or contractors, and that have the same vision as you, in the sense of efficiency and green, if you want to say, and then you just go from there, and they will set you a plan, and then you just execute
and be realistic about timing, be realistic about budget, and expect that both are going to take more and cost more than you originally expected. So patience is key.
Well, that's another one I could have talked about, the hardy board shingles, like how long it, like compared to the siding, because I didn't want to have siding in the front. It's the same product. It's just they just have it different things, right? Different style. You have siding that are 4-inch, 8-inch, or you have shingles. So it looks like cedar shingles, right?
Yeah. So,
but the time to put it up, dude, unbelievable, unbelievable. Like it's 4 times. That was an unexpected thing. Like, it was like I knew it would take a little longer, but not 4 or 5 times.
We started the renovation in 2009 by taking off the brick. Most of the work was done in 2010, so that's when we took off the roof and we constructed a second floor, and we basically reconstructed, I guess, the first floor in some ways. So there's always surprises in an old house. One of the big things is that, you know, we had to reinforce above windows and doors for the second floor. So this is something that we didn't realize right away, and we had to fix it along the way. So unfortunately that actually required taking out insulation that was already in the cavities so we could reinforce those areas, and then we had to re-insulate where we could. I think one of the other things that maybe is not a surprise but was a challenge with working with an old house is that it's not level anymore. So trying to build a level second story on top of an unlevel first story was certainly a challenge, and it took a lot of calculating.
Those are all like, to, you know, once you get the experiences, basically it's all to be expected. You know, it was nothing is straight, nothing is leveled, so you just have to roll with it. And that's why I say, if you have good contractors, or if you want to tent it yourself, just be prepared that this is what's going to happen. You know, nothing will be true anymore. It's been sitting there for 100 years. You know, so you're trying to make something square off of something that's not square anymore. So of course it presents us as challenging. Going back to, is it easier to build a new house? Definitely it would be, but you don't have the character of an older home and the neighborhood and what makes it an older home.
Tough question, but I would say
it costs money, of course.
It costs money, and it cost a fair amount of money. But we planned for that by setting out what we wanted to do, setting out a budget, and then we did what we could within that budget. So one of the things we had to do was make compromises.
Okay.
An example is the roof. We put on a new roof. We really wanted to put on steel because it has a long lifetime and it's recyclable when it's finished its lifetime. But it's three times the price, if not more. Yeah, it's very expensive, and so we kind of had to let that go in order to put our money where other priorities were, like the solar systems. We really wanted to do that, so we sort of had to give up on the steel roof in order to get the solar systems. We chose roof tiles that have a 50-year lifetime. So I feel we made the best choice we could. But sometimes it is about making compromises.
Yeah, unfortunately, it comes that way. You set out your wish list, and sometimes you think you've narrowed down your wish list, that it's all achievable, you know. And then when comes the moment, sometimes you encounter, especially in renos, you'll encounter something that you couldn't plan for. It's a total surprise, and then it costs more money that you budgeted for that expense, and then you end up compromising down the line, because obviously you set out with a budget, and that's the budget you're with. That's the restraint of the project. So you have to
just do the best you can with what you have.
Exactly. And at the end of the day, it's what you're willing to compromise. Like Leslie Ann said, we were not ready to compromise on the PV system, but we were willing to compromise on the roofing material, so that was one compromise that we had to accept.
I think it's important for people to know that, we've learned here that we've done a major renovation. We undertook a really big project. It's still a work in progress. We haven't finished, and we probably won't finish still for a couple more years, but we knew that. That's part of our plan. But even for people who are not willing to undertake or don't even need to undertake such a project of this scale, I think it's important to know that small changes can make a difference. So even, changing your light bulbs to CFLs or LEDs, turning down your thermostat in the wintertime by a few degrees, or programming it so it turns down at night or when you're away, or even turning down your hot water tank. These are small changes, but they can add up on a monthly and an annual basis. So never think that small things don't count.
I would like to talk about more, but there's not much.
Yeah, I was even looking at the carpet. I'm like, oh, I like the carpet. No, it's a silly thing.
It's a silly thing. Come on.
I really like it. It's interface, so you buy it in tiles.
Okay.
You can custom cut it and design it however you want. And then if you were doing a large area, you could actually take, and one tile got dirty or whatever, you could take it off and you can wash it. Okay. Or if it's completely ruined, you can just order another one, or if you had some extras, and you can just replace that one tile.
Okay.
And it's actually made by a company called Interface Flooring, or it's called Floor Tiles. And the company is fantastic. They went from being conventional carpet company, and the CEO became enlightened about the environment, and he completely transformed his company into a sustainable company. So most of the carpets are made from recycled materials, and the company runs off of renewable energy. They're a really fantastic success story. Oh yeah, so when it's done its lifetime, we can send it back and they'll recycle it into more carpets.